Hello, and welcome to Life with Francy podcast, a place where you will find all kinds of conversations like mental health, self care, self love, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this podcast, I want to create a community where we support one another to get to the next level in personal and business life. Hope you enjoy this episode. Now, let's get this show started. On today's episode, I have to control my emotions. I am so excited. And if you have heard other past episodes, I'm always speaking about women in podcasting group. That community is amazing. And today I have the pleasure to interview Jennifer. I forgot to ask her how to pronounce her last name, but you guys already know that I'm a hot mess. Anyways, Jennifer is the owner of Women in Podcasting, which is the website. She has a Facebook group, YouTube channel, podcast, and more. She's truly amazing, and I am so grateful for her community because it has helped me so much in this podcasting journey. So now let's get into it. Thank you, Jennifer, for coming on my show. So tell us, what is life with Jennifer?
Ooh, thank you so much. What an intro. Thank you so much, Francie. It's my absolute pleasure and honor to be here and to have you in the group. And I just love connecting with you there. And thank you for having me on your show.
You are very welcome. Your community is amazing and all the tools that you share. And I love how every day you have a theme. So tell us more how that was created, your mission started.
Yeah. Well, my journey started when my husband had a near death accident. And I was at I was at work. I had the worst phone call anyone could receive. It was his boss. And he said, "You've got to come to the hospital right away. Your husband's been in a bad accident." And all the way to the hospital, I was thinking to myself, I don't want to lose my best friend today. I'm not going to lose my best friend today. And when I got there, I, I didn't even recognize him. He was crushed by 12,000 pounds of wood. And thankfully, he survived. He had a punctured lung. He was left with multiple injuries. And the weeks and months and years to follow were extremely difficult for our whole family, and especially on him. But his bravery and his courage to keep going and recovering and working through things was so touching to me. And it was a long journey of recovery. But during that time, I actually it helped me. It was devastating, really blew up our life, but it also reignited something in me. I thought to myself, I don't want to just keep living in a way that I don't want to live anymore. So I was doing a job I didn't want to do. I had a side gig as my business. And at that time, I finally decided, hey, I'm going to go, turn my part-time side gig into I want to make that my full-time income. And plus I had to drive him around to a lot of doctor's appointments and things like that. And so what happened was, what one of the things that really stood out to me and really touched me was the communities my husband was involved in before his accident now came around and rallied around him. And one of the things he did in the community was he was a volunteer football coach and a volunteer football announcer. And so coaches and players would come around and say, "We're here for you, Coach Paul." And they would encourage him, and they embraced him and really helped us all through the whole situation. And so that touched me so much. And I thought, I don't have that in the entrepreneur community. And so I wanted to just connect. I just wanted connection, because I had found I had become very isolated. I was stuck. I was stuck behind my screens. I was stuck in life. I was stuck in business, in my career, everything. And so I just wanted to have connection, like meaningful connection. And so I invited some business owners to lunch one day. And to my surprise, 50 business owners showed up. And the little room that I had reserved was overflowing with people. And I could see there was a need for deeper connection in a lot of people. To my surprise, it wasn't just me, right? And so that one meeting turned into a group, and that group turned into a full network. And I ended up having chapters all throughout my region in different cities. And I trained leaders to lead the different chapters. And it continued to grow because people wanted to connect. And guess what? For anyone who's listening, people want to connect with you. Sometimes we feel we're alone. There's no one out there, but there are other people out there. You'll be surprised if you make that call. And what I found out was you have to be part of a community for anything to work. And you need to show up if you want to be helped, because if you want to be helped, you need to show up to get that help, right? You can't
Mhm.
just sit isolated by yourself and expect it to come from nowhere. So when you show up, that's most of the challenge. And then once you're there, other people will come around. It's just really surprising how that works. And I saw it time and time and time again, where people would come in, they had isolated themselves, and before you know it, they were networking and getting to know lots of people and reconnecting in community and society. And it's so valuable to our well-being to be connected. And because we can keep hustling on that island alone, day in, day out, but it's really more fulfilling to connect with other people and take the journey together and walk side by side with other people along the same journey. So that's how it started for me, is that I created that community, and then I ended up selling that network. I had done planned and promoted over 500 events in that time over a number of years. And then everything went online, and then the pandemic happened. I sold that network, and then the pandemic happened. And so it was just timely for me to go take my whole business online. And I decided, I had been studying podcasting, Francie, pardon me, for 10 years. And I kept putting
What?
that, yeah, for 10 years. And I kept putting that on the back burner, and I kept putting it on the
Oh
back
my
burner.
God.
Yeah. And so, and so for me, I had taken action on a lot of other things. I had built that network. From 2012 is when I finally went part-time to full-time, and I haven't worked for anyone since. And I was only able to do it because I created that community after my husband's accident.
Mhm.
And so, for us to really scale, to expand, to really make it happen, you need to be part of a community.
Wow.
And that's what led me to create Women in Podcasting.
Yeah, I love it. There's so much that I can relate. It's like hopefully talking to a version of me in the future, if that makes any sense, because that's pretty much me, looking for that community. I have three families, but they're in Puerto Rico, so I'm here in Kansas by myself. So a community is very important to me. And being in a corporate job that is the golden handcuffs is what it's called, because you got great pay, you got great benefits, but you have no life. So I can understand that, and not being in a job that fulfills you, that you need to have that connection and talk about meaningful things. I can talk to my a friend for like 5 minutes and about the sky, because I don't do small conversations, but I can talk about dreams, entrepreneurship, podcasting for hours. So I do also, like, I look for that connection, and we definitely can find it in your community, because the women in there are like truly badasses and just so awesome.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, I try to foster a culture of collaboration over competition. That's always what I've tried to do, and for people to connect, because if people can just connect, things will happen, magic will happen. You'll get momentum. It'll start to magnetize, and you'll just attract more of those kind of people into your life that want to help you. You can help others. And it's just a very fulfilling experience. Being isolated and invisible, it makes you feel invisible, right? And we all want to have more impact, and we want to be ignited and feel that passion come alive and live that in the world. So when we ignite our passion and we're actually living it, that's our purpose. That's when our purpose comes to be, is when we're living our passion in the world.
I can't believe too that you spent 10 years studying about podcasting and not having a podcast. But I
Yes.
can relate, because I spent 6 years listening to podcasts and
Mhm.
learning about podcasts. And then the past 2 years, I was like, I'm gonna have a podcast. And my friends were like, just hit record. Like, why you keep talking about it? Just do it. And now it's 8 months in, 70 episodes, because
Wow.
I love podcasting.
Mm.
Is I feel it like it's my passion. I'm not a morning person. That's what I thought for 34 years. Well, I schedule interviews at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just the happiest. I was like, I didn't know that there was this Francie.
That's amazing. What a story. That's really amazing. Yeah, doesn't connection just make all the difference, and deeper connection, meaningful
Yes.
connection with people?
So you went and just built a group, a business. How did all that go about?
So it started, so I had my business called Inspired Influencers, and that from that I made these brands of these different groups. So initially I had created a network, a business network in my region. I'm from Vancouver, BC, Canada. And
Oh,
so it was in
nice.
cities all throughout my area. And then now with women in podcasting for the first couple of years up until recently, it was just a brand under my Inspired Influencers company. Now, right now, as we're speaking, a new site is being launched, Francie, just for womeninpodcasting.net. So it's going to be its own entity. So you can find that at womeninpodcasting.net.
Awesome. Yeah. Any links and that we talk about, I will put it in the show notes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
so we have a
yeah, go
podcast for that
ahead.
one. We have
Yeah.
a podcast for that one too. So I started with the Inspiring Influencers show with my husband. We co-hosted and interview various thought leaders on mindset and marketing. And then I started this one a few months after that for the Women in Podcasting group, specifically called Women in Podcasting Show.
Yeah, I seen some interviews on YouTube and I have listened to your podcast too.
Oh, wonderful.
And now I have to look. You said influencer. What was it?
Inspiring Influencer Show. Yeah.
Inspire influencer. Yep, I definitely have to look for that one too. I love it. So what other services do you offer within the woman in podcasting community?
So we just launched a mastermind level. I've done masterminds in the past, group coaching, mastermind style group to help people move to the next level. Because a lot of people, they'll go so far. Once you've done a podcast, I really like how when people are doing podcasts, that kind of means they're a little more committed. They've taken the brave risk of using their voice, and they've taken that leap, and then they also have overcome some hurdles with the technical stuff. So that really shows they're ready to go to the next level, right? And so I love working with podcasters because they are committed to the journey of, you know, sharing their message throughout the world, and they want to move to the next level. And so that's what the mastermind is all about, is really working with people on a bit of a deeper level, because the lower cost women in podcasting network membership is only $7 a month, and that gives everybody access to a directory listing and all the tools. But the mastermind level helps people to, where we get to connect and actually help people move to their next level that they're trying to reach.
I am so excited for it because like I said, I have learned so much from all the resources that you already have just in your group and podcast and YouTube that is for free. And then I am part of the $7 membership, and I already said that I'm gonna upgrade it. It's just that I was doing overtime, so I didn't have the time to take in all the resources that you have. But then with a mastermind and then have other like-minded individuals working on the same goals, or even different goals but the same mission, that is to monetize our podcast for some, or just to get their message out, to offer their services. So I love that, and I can't even imagine like how much is going to help people to get to the next level. As me, just in 8 months, I feel like a pro. I feel like a professional out here, and it's thanks to Woman in Podcasting group.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you for sharing that. Well, you will be able to help a lot of people, because we need to get more women podcasting. We need to get more women voices in the podcasting space, because it's still male dominated. And we need women and non-binary to use their voice to express their message, and to, get online and get your voice out there. Because once you start a podcast, as you know, Francie, you can distribute it in so many places. It can get out there into the world in so many places. And just getting over that hurdle of setting up. Isn't it funny that you and I both wanted to do a podcast so badly and we put it off for so long? And so many women, we all do that to ourselves about something at some point. And we need to encourage each other to be brave and use your voice and take that leap.
Yep, I 1,000% agree. I am a huge procrastinator, so that's a huge part of it. And like you mentioned, the technical side, it will intimidate a lot of people,
Yep.
but there's so many resources. I mean, I call Headliner app my virtual assistant. um I have your resources that is like a life coach, because I'm being self coach through your resources. Podmatch to get my interview guests, and a little bit of money with the affiliate link. So it's like there's so many things out there to make your journey a little bit easier. Like it doesn't have to be so complicated, and we make it complicated because of the technical side. I don't even do editing on my podcast. It's like Jesus, take the wheel. I hope this works.
Yes, well, that's the thing. And 10 years ago, it was much harder than it is now. It's easier than ever. And we saw during the pandemic, before the pandemic, there wasn't even quite a million podcasts. Now we're almost at 4 million podcasts. So the pandemic had a lot of people try podcasts. And the other thing too is people discovered it's easier to start one because, if you looked at it 5 or 10 years ago, oh, it was too hard. It looked too difficult. There was too many technical hurdles, right? But now it is so easy. Anybody can start a podcast. And so,
From their phone.
yeah, so that's exciting.
Yeah. I actually started with my phone. Just got the headset or the cable headset, earplugs, and the
Yeah.
audio sounded horrible. And even this one is like my first headset that I buy, because one interview as a guest requested headset. But now I'm like, oh, I need to get like a bigger one with bigger thing. Anyways, it's just little things that you don't even need, because you can start with your phone and just hit record.
Yes, absolutely. I went through a progression too of a cheaper mic, and then I would upgrade my mic and upgrade my mic. You don't have to start with all the expensive equipment. See if you like it first and start with your phone, like you said, and then you'll upgrade and upgrade your equipment. And then you'll get to know things too once you're in the industry and connect with other people. And that's another thing too you've probably noticed, Francie, because you're crushing it. You're doing such a great job with your own
Thank you.
podcast and guesting on other. You're doing an amazing job. Like you're a perfect example of someone who's just been brave, taken that leap, and then it's working out really well. Like you are doing fantastic. You're so good at it. You don't you feel like you in particular are born to podcast? Like you seem so natural at it.
I do. I say that my biggest accomplishment before podcasting, it was that I graduated in a different country in a different language. And I think I finally passed that with
Wow.
podcasting, because I feel like that smart self again.
Mm, that's amazing. Yeah, that's another thing too, is it really helps increase confidence and, gives you an opportunity to use your voice, get used to using your voice in different situations, even outside of podcasting.
Yeah, I'm working on some stuff outside of the podcast, but mainly to tell my story. I would love to tell my story, but I just listened to it because I went on a podcast. Actually, from Woman in Podcasting, The Secret Life. She has the Secret Life podcast, and I went with a different name, and I was able to listen to my own episode, and I was like, wow, like I wanted to break down, but I'm a male lady during the day, and the male lady doesn't have time to break down. She just have to go and deliver mail. I say that out of all my personalities, the male lady and the podcaster, they got it going on. They're focused. There's a roadmap, and they know that no matter what happens, we're gonna get through it. Now the other ones are a hot mess, but I feel that confidence, that you was talking about with the podcasting, um, and especially because I love learning, and with podcasts, you're learning every single day. If it's not about an app, you're learning about the next tool and the next whatever. So different topics too for different podcasts. I mean, I just love this world. I can talk about podcasting all day long.
I can't believe you're a mail carrier. When I was a kid, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a mail carrier. Isn't that something? I never got the opportunity. I have a bad back, so it wouldn't have worked out for me. But
Yeah.
but I just love the idea of delivering the messages and walking throughout the day, and like that's cool. I think that's a cool job.
Now, the service part, I got it down. I love it. I love my customers. They know it. I tell all of them, you are my favorite customer. And then when they're with the neighbor, they're like, I thought I was the favorite customer. Giving the packages when they go on vacation. And when they move into the neighborhood, I'm like, welcome to the neighborhood. And they're like, who are you? Do you live here? And I'm like, no, I'm just a mail lady. I'm going to see you for the next few years. So let's get to know each other already. So if I can take that part and put it in a business, and like the hours that I work at work also, because I work 10 to 13 hours depending on the day. And imagine if I put that into podcasting, if I put 12, 13 hours for just for 6 days. Now, let's not talk about it a whole year, just for a month. I do 6 days, 12 hours on my podcast.
Yep. When my husband had his accident, and then I was finding I really need to. I was laid off from a job that I had as a manager in a nonprofit, and I thought, I talked to my husband, and I thought, I need to just do, if I put all my effort into my own thing. But I had 30 days, right? Because we had financial crunch because he wasn't working and things like that. He was very badly injured, and so I gave myself 30 days, and I did it, and I couldn't believe it because all those years that I was doing the side gig, I just told myself, this is it. You have to take all that knowledge, all your ideas, do it now. Like there's no more waiting, there's no more putting it off, do it now. And I can't believe I did it. And I have not worked for anyone since. But it does take that brave leap. Now, not to say you should leave your job,
Oh no.
but like make sure everything's aligned. But you know what I mean? I was definitely in a crunch. It was definitely like I had to do it. I had no choice but to do it. And it reminds me when I turned 50, I went and skydived.
Oh my
I went
God. First of
skydiving.
all, how are you past 50? Like, that's not happening. You look gorgeous, like you're still in your 40s.
Oh, thanks so much. I turned 54 on Friday. So yeah, when I was 50, I went skydiving, and it was frightening, and right, but only in about 5 seconds. All the rest of it, going up in the plane, that was interesting. You got to see everything. And then the only frightening part was when you've been on a plane, we've all been on a plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got up to a certain height, and the door opened and people just started falling out. That was a strange sensation, just to have people fall. That didn't seem natural, right? And then I was the last one. I was the only one that was tethered to somebody. So it was just me and the guy that was tethered. And I thought for a second, no, I'm going to tell them I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to land with the plane. But no, we were nudging towards the door. There's no getting out of this. And so it was just from about that point when we were nudging towards the door. And then you have to stand on a step on the outside of the plane, and the step is see-through, and you're standing on the step. And it was just that moment, the few seconds of nudging and then standing on that step, that was the most terrifying before the leap. And then we fell off the plane. And Francie, I'm telling you, I was shocked. It was a falling feeling of maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And then it just felt like floating and flying. It doesn't feel like you're falling the whole time. It just feels like you're kind of floating like in water. It's amazing. And so there was only of the entire day, there was only that 5 seconds of absolute fear. And isn't it interesting? It's just the 5 seconds before the leap. And so I remember that throughout everything in my life. Look, you feel terrified, but on the other side of that fear, as the saying goes, on the other side of fear is all the good stuff, right? Because then the view, and then I had the gumption to raise my head and look around, and the view. So I'm floating, I'm just feel like I'm flying and floating, and then seeing this spectacular view, and then landing was amazing too, and like it was just an incredible experience. So I remember that every time I come up against something that I'm procrastinating about, that I feel fearful about, and I remind myself, oh, there's something good on the other side of this.
Wow, girl, you told that story so good. I can't wait to go skydiving, and I hate the idea of going skydiving. But now the way that you described it, I was like, I can't wait. But I do get it. I can even picture it as she was describing it because she did so good describing it. And that pretty much is it. Yeah, I can't take that leap. Yeah, I got $50,000 in debt, so I gotta fix that before I leave. And I want to be making money and all, and I have to be petty when I leave. Like that's a rule. So I just can't wait. I'm be planning that day, but I can't wait to take that leap. But I at least that's the podcast is about bringing people that have already did the jump, took a leap, and enjoyed the view. So it can give hope to somebody else that is even just thinking about going skydiving to keep going the metaphor. So that's the reason of the podcast, like, hey, this is where I'm at, or this is where my guest is at, that is already at top. We can pull you up if you want to, just reach out to us. I don't know how many times I have said about the woman in podcasting group on my podcast on other episodes, but like I hope that my listeners are like going and checking that community. That it doesn't matter, it could be writing a book, and you have the resources and you have the platform to help you get your book out there. You don't have to have a podcast. You can be a guest on podcasts to get your message out too.
Yes, yes. My platform when I built the network, and that's great. I love everything you've said there. So good. We want to encourage people, because even if you have your job, you can still work your passion and purpose on the side, like you're doing so beautifully, so beautifully. And so when my husband had his accident, I helped him go from an injured mill worker to an international speaker. He's done a TED talk, he's written a book about our story, and all of those things you can do while you're going through a struggle, even while you're doing the job that you're trying to, work your way out of, and things like that. You can work on all these things to still help your passion and your purpose come alive in the world.
Yeah. All I can say on that one, once you find your passion, you find the energy.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because like it's 8 p.m. right now, and I just got off of 10-hour shift, and
Mm.
I feel so energetic, but it's just because it's my passion. This is what I love. And then of course it's you, Jennifer. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. My coworkers were dying laughing because I got the message. The conversation was yesterday and I was at a picnic from work, and they're having a serious conversation. I don't know, it could have been trauma or something. It was something serious. And next thing you know, I'm on my phone and I'm like, and everybody's like, what's happening? And they're like, oh my God, you and your podcast. So, but it just gives me the energy. And once you find it, now your job becomes, oh, it's so dreadful because you're like, oh my gosh, I can be at home doing something, but you can put in the hours little by little. Like I said, I work 10 hours and I at least put an hour to 3 hours, depending on the day, for my podcast as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for all that. And I could talk about podcasting all day too, because I just love how it unites women and unites people and, gets people's message out into the world. There's so many important things that we need to say to each other and connect with each other. And so you're doing that work and it's such beautiful work. And I really feel like you and I are going to be friends.
Oh, um, I waited for those words for 8 months, so I hope it's true. No, I really see us. In serious note, I will stop. I will become an adult now. On serious note, I do hope that we can collaborate on something in the future. Because like I said, I'm down for your community, and I already told everybody about it. And I as I'm going through the interview, like I said in the beginning, like I hope that I'm talking to like somebody in the future, a version of me in the future, because our stories, even though it was the accident and stuff, when it comes to the dreams and working on it and getting off the corporation and trying to build a community, that part are similar. So I appreciate you, and thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute joy to chat with you. Thank you so much.
Do you have anything else that you would like to plug in or anything for
Well,
my listeners?
yeah, for you and the listeners, there's a number of ways to monetize your podcast. I use lots of different ways, and a person doesn't have to have a large audience for the methods that I use. And so I do have a free masterclass called Mini Memberships Masterclass, and it helps you to learn how to generate a monthly recurring income from your podcast and other things that you're doing, turning your expertise into extra income. And so that's a free masterclass that you can get at memberspack.com. But also, I want to share when you release this episode, let me know, because I will share it everywhere. And that's the power of being on a podcast or having a podcast, is being able to share other people's messages too. So I'll be glad to do that.
Thank you, and that's gonna make me cry. I appreciate it. I have seen a couple of guests share it already, and it's like when I'm going through Instagram or TikTok, and then I see my face, all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh my God, look at me!" Not narcissism at all, but at the same time, like made me proud. And yeah, I don't know where I have you, but it's like at the end of October, beginning of November, because I have been hustling between Podmatch, Woman in Podcasting, She Podcast, and She's Elevated, I believe. I've been trying to find guests, but Podmatch and Woman in Podcasting are the ones that are more active, that get guests want to come in. I just did oh my gosh, what's her name? Haiti de la Cruz, and she has a podcast about immigration, and we found each other in Woman in Podcasting, and like we are loving it. She's rocking her thing, but she's more focused on her poetry book. I mean, she was an amazing guest that I got off of Woman in Podcasting.
Oh, that's amazing. There's so many amazing women in the group, and we've had hundreds, if not thousands of matches, which is just incredible to have so many women connect in that way. So thank you for all the work you're doing. Thank you for being in the group, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you. So, anything else? We good? I
I
mean,
think that's it.
I can talk to you forever, but I just want to be respectful of your time. But if I could pick your brain for 3 hours, I will pick your brain for 3 hours. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to another episode. Hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Hope you have a blessed day.